Welcome to No Hacks Show, a weekly podcast in which smart guests talk about the many ways you can optimize your online presence. This episode is all about email marketing and more specifically about designing an efficient onboarding email series. To tell you all about that, I'm joined by Vassilena Valchanova, digital marketing strategist, trainer, and speaker, and someone you definitely should follow on LinkedIn for daily tips on copywriting, branding, digital strategy, so many other things. Vasi, welcome to the podcast. What a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
So we met at WordCamp Europe in Athens, where you had an amazing presentation earlier this year that was about personal branding titled The Brand of You. Not related to what we're going to talk about today, but you're killing it when it comes to personal branding. It's very obvious. Anyone that follows you on LinkedIn knows that, and your conference presentations, all that. We are in a business of consultancy, essentially. And in that business, it's very easy to put your head down, do the work, and not promote yourself. And I would say 90% or more of people do exactly that and don't even think about promoting themselves and having a personal brand. So to someone who wants to go from zero to something in terms of personal branding, what is your advice? What's the first step?
Yeah, first off, you're very kind, and I'm really happy to see that I make an impression on people. And the one thing that always sort of lights me up inside is the fact that people find my stuff valuable and helpful, which is what I'm aiming for. So that's great to hear. When it comes to personal branding, I have to say that for a long time, I've been guilty of that same misstep, if you will, that you just mentioned, of really not being very open about my work and not really promoting a lot about what I'm going through as a marketer. And I think that oftentimes this comes from a place where people are thinking, okay, I'm working for a company. If I start promoting myself more actively, first off, it doesn't really come natural. Like we're told from kids to not brag,
Let me just intro. That's an Eastern European thing. But let's just put that. That's a background that we share.
Yeah, that's true. And to some extent, I think European as a whole, like it's not polite to talk about yourself very much, yada, yada, yada. And then the other thing is, especially for people who are working in a company as an employee, they often think that first, I'm not 100% comfortable, or I'm not 100% sure if my employer will be okay with that, because they might think, oh, she's starting to, get very active on LinkedIn. Maybe she's looking for a new job, and that's not the best news for any employer. So I think that the first two things that you need to take into account are exactly these. First off, when it comes to talking about yourself, do it from the position of sharing your journey and talking about the things that other people might find helpful or valuable. Even if it's just like, hey, here's what I'm going through. Maybe you're going through the same thing. I want you to know you're not alone. Some of the pieces that I've created that have resonated with people the most are these very human things that a freelancer goes through, like imposter syndrome or burnout. And these have been really, there isn't a ton of helpful information in there. I mean, you can find all over the web advice on how to fight burnout or what it is, but people enjoy the fact that I'm sharing it from a personal perspective. So it's good to talk about yourself, especially when you're bringing some value to other people. And when it comes to the other elements, I think just, sharing with your direct manager or your employer, hey, I'm very excited about the things we're doing here, and I want more people to know about it. This already puts you in a position where you're even like an ambassador for your company, which can be very valuable. So it starts off with, finding those limiting beliefs that are stopping you from doing what you want to do, and just, removing these barriers one after the other.
Yeah, think about the person who's going to consume that content. Like, they need it more than you need to share it, basically. At least someone will be in the same position. Interesting thing you mentioned, personal branding as part of it, a larger company. To me, that's a no-brainer for the company and for the leadership of the company. If you have strong personal brands within the company, that kind of pulls you up as an agency or whatever company you are. So maybe, I guess, some owners or bosses wouldn't like that because it looks like you're looking for another job. But I think a good boss would push you into becoming a strong personal brand, because that helps everyone involved, and you're happier as an employee if the company's backing you. Just my thoughts. Maybe I'm wrong, but those are my thoughts. Anyway, let's get to the main topic, because I've been thinking about this for the last few months, and it's something I'm doing. I'm helping a client with setting up an efficient and good onboarding email series. So let's start with the most basic question. What kind of business should or individual think about doing something like this? At what point should they start considering it?
Oh man, I'm obviously very, very much biased because I work on email onboarding sequences with most of my clients. I really love email marketing as a tool to build strong relationships with your audience. So my answer here probably won't surprise you knowing all of that. I think that most businesses, I don't want to say all because there are probably situations where you wouldn't, but most businesses, if they're doing email marketing, if they're starting with that, having an onboarding sequence is something that makes a ton of sense. And if you're doing email marketing, you need an onboarding sequence, 100%. And starting with an onboarding sequence earlier rather than later makes a lot of sense because as we're going to dive into the conversation here, it's going to become apparent to everyone listening to us that an onboarding sequence is something that improves your email marketing performance overall, and it can also even benefit all of your other marketing activities. Because, like if we think about it, what is an onboarding sequence? It's really a way for you to introduce yourself and to put your best foot forward. And while in some cases, you'd want to send the person like a discount code or something like that, something very promotional at the start, you can still combine it with an onboarding sequence that tells your story and shows people what your brand is really about. And this can be beneficial to any business, really.
That's a great point, because sometimes you'll sign up for a newsletter, you don't even remember what it was and then where you found them and then why you gave them your email. And then you start getting those promotional emails that they're just, buy this, buy that, go here, go there. I don't even know who you are. Like maybe I don't remember when I signed up. So a series is really, like you said, it's a great way for you to introduce yourself to the subscriber. And one thing that maybe overlooked, you know this better than I do, is the lifetime value of a subscriber that goes through that sequence should be significantly higher if you do things the right way than without an onboarding series. So how long should that series be? Like, what time frame are we talking about? How many emails? Is there an ideal from, to number or not?
I believe there definitely is a right answer to that, but it's gonna very much depend on the specific use case. So I'm talking here about what your business is about, and mainly who are you selling to and what's the customer journey like. So here's an example. I just went online and shopped online for a leather jacket this past few weeks. And I came across a new brand that I didn't really buy from or shop from before. As soon as I sign up to their newsletter, maybe I'm enticed to do that with a discount code for my first purchase. Let's say that's the case. So you're an e-commerce brand, someone comes to your site, they get that discount code. What I will need to do still at this point is to give them a very short introduction to my store as a store owner, because making a decision about buying a piece of clothing, that usually goes fast. That usually goes either within the same day or in a couple of days. In my case, it was a bit more of a significant purchase money-wise, so I took a few days to think about it. And within that period, it would have been a great moment to send me maybe just a couple of emails, maybe one or two emails, introducing to me what the brand stands for, how they started, what they believe, because they have something to say about cruelty-free leather, about the way they're actually creating leather jackets in a way that's more environmentally friendly and sustainable, and maybe to share with me some of the cooler features about the product that they're selling. Maybe there's something about the material that needs to be said. Maybe it's something like that. But in this case, you see, like if your customer comes to you and makes a purchase within a couple of days, then you need to use these few days very wisely. So your onboarding sequence will be maybe a couple of emails long, where you need to introduce the key highlights at the top. And maybe you can still extend that series for some people who take more time to make the purchase decision. Maybe you can make that like a 2-week sequence, but you make sure that you front load that and you put the most important pieces of information within those 2 initial emails, because based on your customer data, people usually take within 5 days to make a purchase. Let's say that's the case.
Right, but the key here is to be educational about the product, about the brand.
Yes.
Make them care about you. Show them that you're different, and show them what it is that makes you different compared to any other brand online that you can find. I mean, every shop is one click away. So basically, you need to stand out, and like they have your attention. You're talking to them directly. They give you the emails. So this is a good opportunity to really introduce yourself as a brand and what your values are, founder story, like whatever is unique about you, special about you. Maybe this is a good time. Now,
yeah, definitely.
So
definitely.
What kind of tools are we talking about? What is the best? What are the recommended tools for setting up a good onboarding series?
This is still gonna be sort of an it depends answer.
Of course,
I know that people really don't like that, but we marketers tend to do it. But just to bring it back to the previous point, because we spoke about like an example that's very sort of easy to comprehend, but also easy from a customer tracking perspective. The other case might be, let's say, a B2B company where the decision gets made over a period of maybe 6 to 12 months, let's say. So I was working with a client about a year ago, and they were creating a platform for content management for bigger enterprise clients. Their customer journey, their purchase journey was about 16 months on average. So in this case, we still created an onboarding sequence, but we made sure that we're expanding that information across a longer period of time, and also building up additional sequences later down the line to re-engage those potential customers. So in this case, maybe your onboarding sequence, since you're selling a more complex product and you have a lot more to say about it, and also since you're not in such a hurry to get the person to make a decision now, in this case, the onboarding series may be something like 10 emails spread across 2 or 3 months. So you still have a lot to say. You still have ample time to say it, because it's a more complex process. And then what we do is, if I'm sending that and I have my email initial onboarding sequence set up for the first 2 months, then maybe I'll create additional re-engagement sequences further down the line, say every 2 months going after that, so that we still stay top of mind. And if the people within that company that we're trying to target, if they are still thinking about making a purchase, they still think about us first, as opposed to just starting from scratch and looking at our competitors and looking at different companies. So this is also something to take into account. I don't want people listening to this to be like, oh, okay, so we need 2 emails across the first 10 days. And
no. It is an independence. And like you said, in marketing, it depends is really the most common answer you'll get to any question. Yeah. Like everyone knows that, but it's actually a very good answer. It's a very precise answer, because it depends on whatever your purchase cycle is, however long that is. You need to cover the entire purchase cycle so they don't forget about you. So you nurture them. For some products, it's going to be a few days. For some, it's going to be 16 months, which to me, I've never heard of that before. But in B2B, in expensive sales, I'm sure that's very, very relevant and very possible. So back to tools. Can you just draw out a few names? I know it depends. I know it does. But sure. Where should people start looking at least?
But it's also the reason I brought us back to the previous question before I answered that was that it's again the main reason behind like choosing a tool would be what's your industry and what's your purchase process or customer journey like. So there are some tools that are like out of the gate, they're a great fit for certain types of companies. So if we're talking about e-commerce, most clients would generally prefer something like Klaviyo, which it has become sort of the de facto standard for all sorts of email marketing. If you're a content creator or a consultant, maybe you can look at something like ConvertKit. They have like sort of branded themselves to be all about creators and so on. I have another two brands that I routinely recommend to customers. So one that I use is called MailerLite. It's Mailer as you hear it, and then LITE. The reason I recommend it is that it's very easy to use. It's very simple as a tool, and it's also less expensive than some of the common entry-level alternatives. So whenever I'm working with a client who's like a small business, they don't have a very complex set of requirements or something like that, we would usually default to MailerLite. And I prefer that as opposed to some of the bigger names like, say, MailChimp, because over the years, in my opinion, MailChimp has grown so much with different additional tools and options and features and so on that it's very overwhelming for a new marketing team in a small company to actually work with it. And as soon as you hit that free subscriber limit, it tends to get very expensive very fast if you're in B2C and you have a lot of subscribers. MailerLite, I enjoy because of its simplicity, but it doesn't sacrifice any of the important things. So you can very easily create an onboarding sequence or any other type of automation with the tool, and it's very, very intuitive. So that's one of my go-to options. And the other one, just to finish throwing names at you, would be, so they're now called Brevo. They used to be called Sendinblue. And this is a tool I would generally use for B2B teams, especially when I'm working with B2B services businesses or businesses that have a sales process built in down the line, because it's still very simple as a tool. It allows for some very robust level of tracking without having the price tag of something like, let's say, Active Campaign or something like that. And it has a very easy integration for your sales follow-ups. If you're working with the sales team and they need to, down the line, choose specific leads to start nurturing and engaging with, then you have a very good visibility on who sent what when to each specific customer. So this is sort of my selection of tools that people can choose from.
Another very accurate "it depends" answer. I'll give you that. And funny thing, what you said about MailerLite, that it's simple, easy to use, intuitive. Those were the selling points of MailChimp when it came out. Like it was the cool new toy that, it's so easy to use, it's so simple, the interface is amazing. Look at them now. I guess that's MailerLite in several years, but we'll see about that. So basically, the answer is, see what your needs are and choose a tool based on that. Don't just go with MailChimp because everyone says you'll use MailChimp or anything like that. But I care about e-commerce a lot, and Klaviyo is something that gets thrown around more than anything else, probably with their close connections with Shopify, and they're really integrated well. And I think they're trying to make a push into WooCommerce space as well. So look out for that. They might be growing, but it's a great tool for e-commerce based on what everyone has told me. So yes, you back that up as well. So let's get to the most important part. How do you plan an efficient onboarding series? It depends. I know it depends. Everything depends, and especially with email, where there's so many if this, then that, else this. When you set it up, you know how that goes. But what should you think about as you're planning an efficient onboarding email series? Like, you start with a goal, right? What do you want to achieve?
Yeah. Oh man, you made this so simple a transition for me because I was about to start by mentioning like figure out your goals and you just like led me
There we
right in
go.
there.
We haven't talked about this, people. We haven't prepared well enough to be this smooth. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, goals is the one place where you definitely need to start. And basically, what I try to do when I'm planning an onboarding sequence for a client or I'm working with a new client and we're setting this up together, we start by thinking, what do I need to tell these people, and what do they need to know as soon as they see my brand for the first time? Like, let's imagine that they don't have any other context about the brand, save for these first few emails. What do we need to make sure to include there? So one component of this means we need to present them who our brand is and why they should care. So we need to tell them about our value proposition. We need to lay that out front and center in very simple terms, very specific terms. And we need to lay out our differentiators. So what makes us different, why they should care about us rather than any of the other competitors. And here, there can be a lot of stuff that you might want to say. It may be your founder story. For a lot of lifestyle brands, this is the main sort of, it's not really like a differentiator based off of specific features and product attributes. It's more around the identity of the brand and how it connects to the users. So maybe that's important. Maybe you're selling a more technical product, say something like a SaaS tool. In this case, you might want to be very specific about the benefits you can bring to your ideal customer and how this connects to specific features that you want to highlight. So the question is still the same. The amount of information you might want to send, it may differ. And this is where you're going to see that quickly you have a very good idea whether or not like your email sequence is going to be maybe 2 or 3 emails, or whether it's going to be like 5 or 10 emails because you have a lot more to say.
Right, but each one of those individual, sorry to interrupt, emails should be treated as an individual content piece. So it should have one goal, one idea in mind, and not like try to throw everything at them in one email.
That's right? A very, very good point. Definitely the golden rule for an onboarding sequence or for a lot of other types of sequences in email marketing is that each email has one goal, one key idea to transfer to the customer, and one specific call to action. And this call to action may be like start your free trial. It may be like reply to this email if you want to learn more or anything like that. It can be different, but it still needs to be just one key thing. And this actually sort of brings me to the other element in the email sequence. So your call to action might be about the customer proactively wanting to learn more about you. So basically, another goal of your onboarding sequence might be to give them a sort of a best of your brand. So in my case, when a new subscriber joins my newsletter, one of the first emails that they get within the onboarding sequence is my top 3 articles from my blog. So this is a way for me to show them, hey, I don't know exactly which piece of content you sort of came through, like what made you subscribe, but I want to make sure that you've seen these heavy hitters and you know that I can bring a ton of value to you. So that gets the person to, first off, consume more of my content, which strengthens our connection. And the other thing is that it gets them to sort of see everything that I have to offer and continue to pay attention all throughout the next steps of any email marketing campaigns I can send them. So this is what I mentioned in the beginning, that a good onboarding sequence can massively improve your overall email marketing goals and your marketing goals in general, or marketing results rather, because a person who's been onboarded well, they have a very clear understanding why they need to pay attention to you. So this means that their open rates are going to be higher. the click-through rates are going to be higher, and the chances that they actually convert to a paying customer are going to be much higher.
And not just a paying customer, but a super fan later, a brand advocate, all that. They're much more likely if the connection is personal on that level. So one very specific question about the sequence, the onboarding sequence. Is there room for segmentation there based on the sign up form? Maybe there's some questions there. Do you care about this type of content, that type of content, or a survey that you send in the first email, for example? Like, is that something that you recommend, or it depends, I know, but I want to hear you.
So I have here in front of me a few bullet points laid out on what I wanted to say about goals. And these were: first point, present your brand's core value. Second point, give them reasons to pay attention. And third point, get to know your audience. So we're really running very smoothly here. Yeah. So this is exactly what you can use an onboarding sequence for. It's 100% something you can do, and you should do. It's not just an opportunity. It's not just a possibility. It's an opportunity for you to learn. So one of the very simple ways to do that is to start asking questions within that onboarding sequence. So in the onboarding sequences I create, we'd usually, once we see the general structure, like we've already gone through what do we want to present to them in terms of value proposition, differentiators, features, and benefits, then I look at what other types of content or information we want to send to them so that they continue to pay attention. And then looking at that whole structure, I'm going to be like, okay, these are a few nice places where we can actually ask additional questions and get some information back. The first thing that I do within the very first email, or as closely as that point as possible, because this is the moment where people are statistically most likely to actually pay attention and to engage with you, I'd ask an open-ended question. And it will be something along the lines of, what was going on in your life to get you to, sign up to our newsletter? Or what was going on in your life to decide to start your free trial? Because maybe they're receiving that onboarding sequence because they became a free trial user. So this is very broad, and the answers you're going to get are that much better because of it. You see that few people actually take the time to respond, but the ones who do, the information they send over is going to be like pure gold. They're going to tell you who they are, what's the stage in their life that they're currently at, what they're hoping to achieve. So what's their desired outcome? What was the motivation behind choosing you? What they want to see out of you in the coming weeks or months of your relationship. So you're going to get so much valuable information back that it's a case of quality over quantity. You're not going to get a lot of answers, but they're going to be great. And this is why having an open-ended question like that is so valuable, because you're going to get different types of answers that are going to fill in different knowledge gaps that you might have because of your customer, within the profile of your customer, I mean. And it's sort of the reasoning behind it is, the closer you are to the moment that they sign up, the higher their motivation is and the higher the attention that they give you. So in an onboarding sequence, you'd routinely start with open rates of the first few emails within even 60, 70, 80% is something that I've seen with clients. And then this is gradually going to decrease as people, get wrapped up in their daily lives and they stop responding. And you would basically go to your regular open rate of, let's say, if you have a 20, 30%, if you have a healthy mailing list. So we ask the most important and the most difficult questions first. And then maybe down the line within the onboarding sequence, if it's a longer one, you can find a place where you can send them a short survey. And actually, MailerLite that we mentioned earlier, they have the option for the customer to fill in a survey directly within the email itself. So it's something simple, like maybe 3 or 4 questions that you want to ask. And what you ask in this is obviously based on it depends.
Obviously, it depends. Yes, but that's a great point.
Yeah, and it will depend on what you want to learn from them. So maybe you want to ask them who they are, what's their category, and what they want to learn. And getting back to what you were originally asking about segmentation, this is a moment where they can self-segment for you. So I have a question like that in my personal newsletters onboarding sequence. Ask them which of these describes you the best. So maybe you're a marketer who's working for a brand. Maybe you're a marketer who's working for an agency. Maybe you're a freelancer. Maybe you're a business owner or founder. Based off of that, I can then continue the onboarding sequence in a different sort of lane, depending on what they answered. Or another question that I ask is, what types of content are you interested in? Is it the marketing stuff that's specifically about tactics and strategies around content and copywriting? Is it career growth and opportunities or something along the lines of productivity? Is it more general business strategy? And then again, based off of that, I could segment. I have never personally done that, but maybe I could segment and send them different editions of my newsletter that are tailored. Or the way I currently use that is it allows me to keep a finger on the pulse of my audience, and it helps me figure out what types of content I need to keep including in my newsletters down the line. So it informs my content strategy in this way.
Right, and that's really the value of zero-party data collected this way. It's not about that particular subscriber. It's really about the strategy and the overall picture. Where do I go from here? Like, what do I do? What does my audience need? Just knowing who they are, basically, and not just talking to that individual directly. One final question before we start wrapping it up. How do you measure success of an onboarding series? Like, what are the metrics? Like, open rate, you mentioned it, but open rate is kind of messed up since Apple did what they did last year.
Yeah.
I guess click rate and conversion rate after, but how do you usually talk to clients about measuring success?
So we are still using open rate, fraught as it is, just to sort of use it as a benchmark to compare one piece of content against another. So within my onboarding sequence, I know that the open rate is not the true open rate, if you will, but if I see that my first email has the highest open rate, the second email has a lower one, the third email has an even lower one, this is what I would expect. If I see something else, if I see that the first email has a very high open rate, but the second one has a very low open rate, then this means that there's something wrong there. And I need to maybe change my subject line. Maybe I need to update the from name or something like that. So it sort of shows me, are there any gaps in what I would expect to see, which is a gradually sloping downward graph? And is there something that I can do about it? Click rate. Yeah, exactly. Click rate is the second metric that you would almost universally measure, and reply rate is another one. And these two can be sort of interchangeable depending on what's the goal of the email, what's the call to action within that. So maybe some of the emails might not even have a classic call to action button. That doesn't mean that they don't have a call to action at all. Maybe they are asking you to, reply or get some additional information or go somewhere or whatever. From then on out, basically you can get more specific depending on the type of business. So if you're a company where all the subsequent customer interactions are happening online, so classic example are e-commerce and SaaS, maybe you can test out different onboarding sequences and compare lagging indicators for your customers based off of the onboarding sequence that they received. Meaning, I send onboarding sequence A to one group of customers. I send onboarding sequence B to another one. And then I compare within the next, let's say 3 months, what's the order value that they've expressed up till now. Or maybe if it's a SaaS company, if it's a SaaS product, maybe I compared what's the activation rate for each of these. And this gives me the opportunity to actually figure out, okay, like this flow is more conductive of people actually, testing out our product and reaching that activation point that we have.
Right. And even to go beyond that, like you can look at churn rate, you can look at customer repeat rate, you can like all of that. So beyond the 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, I think a good onboarding series definitely has a say in how that is going to work.
It definitely has an impact on that. If you're able to make an actually, a specific action there is a bit tricky, because with something like churn rate, there are so many factors that play within that you can't really single out the onboarding sequence as the culprit there. So if we're talking about something along the lines of making like regular optimizations of your onboarding or making an A/B test, then I would still limit that to within the first, let's say, 3 to 6 months of a customer's relationship with us. Definitely onboarding sequences have definitely impact the churn rate, the activation rate, the lifetime value of a customer, but it's much more tricky to say if one onboarding sequence actually influenced that or another influenced it better,
It's too many factors. Absolutely. So before we finish the episode, tell me about your course. I want to hear about your course.
Well, here that's a great example that we didn't plan for everything in the preliminary discussion. I definitely wanted to mention that, and thanks for reminding me. So, I was actually reading up some notes on onboarding sequences from a session I did with students in my online course that I launched. It's shy of a year by a couple of months. So I launched it right at the end of last year. It's still, I think, very relevant, and the feedback that I'm getting is very positive. So this gives me the confidence to promote it, even for an Eastern European who's been taught not to brag about what they do.
It's not easy. Like it just...
Yeah. So my course, very quickly, you're going to find a link to it in the show notes. But what we wanted to tell you, it's all about content marketing and copywriting, but from a strategic perspective. So I don't go about telling you different hacks about making content better, or what's the latest trend that works on Instagram Reels or anything like that. Or I don't go about telling you the 50 different power words you can use in your copywriting, because that's BS. I actually teach you long-term repeatable strategies that you can use to make your content better, make content that sticks and that actually drives business results. And I also teach you strategies on how to figure out how to position your brand and how to craft brand messaging that actually converts people and sort of gives them the real reasons to pay attention to you and to eventually buy. And what we discussed right before the start is that you're not just going to see a link to the course itself. You're also going to see a promo code, no hacks. That's going to give you €50 off both the video on demand version that you can, just buy and go through on your own, and the group training version where you also get access to my time through regular individual office hours and to some upcoming live sessions that we have, where we either go through something specific like crafting an email onboarding sequence, or we invite a guest in to tell us more about different topics related to content marketing and copywriting.
The best part of that, first of all, when you told me that, I said, oh my God, it's our first personalized discount code. And that is amazing. And I'm thankful for that. It will be in the show notes, like I said. But the best thing about the type of your course is it's all evergreen. Like it will still stand 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if it's not hacks and power words and all that BS. And that's kind of how digital marketing, as much as it changes and the tools change and like the technology changes, human psychology behind every decision that's being made is still the same. It's going to be mostly the same, well, long after we're all gone, I would assume, unless some major AI event happens, which, we'll see. We'll see about that. So thank you for that. Thank you for that discount code. I'll put that in the show notes. I'm sure people will appreciate that and love the course. Thank you for being on the podcast. This was a great conversation. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone who listened to this episode learned a lot as well. And if you're one of those people who learned a lot, please consider rating, reviewing the show, follow Vasi on LinkedIn. I'll post that in the show notes as well. And I will talk to you next week.